Hello, my name is David Voorhees, and I recently got into acrylic paint pouring. I am a IT specialist by trade and have very little artistic talent, or I've always thought I had very little artistic talent, but the last year and a half, I've gotten into paint pouring. As you can see, I have a painting right here, one of the first ones that I've done. And I'm putting this YouTube channel together to try and help newbies at paint pouring kind of understand the concepts, and I'm taking a really analytical approach, lots of experimentation, lots of small permutations to kind of get an idea of how I want to do things. It's how I work, and kind of it's how I think. I've always been kind of a math IT technology buff, so I'm kind of taking that approach to learning how to do paint pouring, and these videos are kind of a journal of what I'm doing and how this is working out for me. So hope you enjoy, and if you'd like, check out my website leftbrainedartist.com, and if you'd like to see more videos, hit the follow button and subscribe. Thank you. So the first paint pour we're going to look at today is the traditional pour. The traditional pour is mixing my paints up separately, and then we're going to pour these onto the canvas in whatever way we decide we want to do. Now, I've pre-mixed these paints. They're a little thicker than I normally do, but I did that on purpose so they wouldn't mix as well. I also put a small layer of white on this canvas to help the paint flow better as we pour it on, and then as we kind of move it around. So first I'm going to use this blue that we have here, light blue. We're just going to pour just a random pattern. Just cut it around. I do want a little bit of the white to show through, so I'll leave a little bit out. I made a little more than I needed here, so I'm going to leave some of that out. I'm going to take some dark blue. Kind of put that up there. Get some crossing in here. And last but not least, I have this gold/yellow, and I'm going to try something here. I'm going to pour it in the middle, kind of like a sun, and then I kind of want to shoot this off, see if I can't make type of a kind of a horizon looking thing here. So again, the traditional pour, we're just pouring the paint straight onto the canvas. I got a little bit of white down below because I wanted to kind of make this work out a little better. So then we're not gonna tilt very fast. The faster you tilt, the quicker the paint's gonna get to the edges, and I kind of want to keep my paint a little centered where I want it. So I'm just gonna go really slowly. Let it kind of flow off to the side. Make sure I get my corners. I'm going to lose a little bit of the blue, but we'll see. Go a little bit slower here. See how the white paint underneath kind of allows it to flow off a little better. If I would have left this a regular canvas, the paint would stick more because the canvas has its little texture to it that kind of grabs the paint as you move it. So in this case, my sun really didn't stay where I wanted it to, so we're just gonna improvise. See if we can't. Did a little more of that. liking it where it's at. So as you can see, I still have a lot of paint moving here. Which means I can keep it where it's at, or I can play with a little more. I'm just going to leave it right there. So one of the things I do like to do is take some of the little leftovers and kind of grab. I'm okay to get the yellow here. On this side, I don't really want yellow. I'm going to take it here. But again, this is just a traditional pour. I'm pouring the paint right on the canvas, not worrying about making cells or anything. I'm just getting the paint on the canvas, kind of moving it around to cover everything and giving me a little color. So the next pour we're going to look at is a puddle pour. For this I have black, neutral gray, and white paint. And the puddle pour is a offshoot of the traditional pour. In this case, we're going to pour a bunch of different puddles, and each of the colors is going to go into the same puddle. And I've also layered my canvas with a small amount of white. That wasn't really necessary with this, but I did want to get some separation between my puddles. So I think I want to start with black first. So again, puddle, we're just going to start a puddle here. And I'm going to do 9 puddles, mostly the same size. And we're going to do some gray in the middle. Gotta be careful not to drip. And I'm going too fast, so my puddles aren't turning to be very uniform, but to be honest, I'm not a real fan of uniform, so I'm really blowing it with these white drips. So again, you can do as many as you want. You can let the paint run off the side. I'm actually going to do just teeny drops of black this time. And if you notice also, because this is a canvas, as the paint gets deeper, it's starting to settle into the center because the canvas does give way slightly. So you need to make sure you understand how much paint you want, and however much paint there is going to affect how long it's going to take to dry. Okay. A little extra gray, so I'm gonna and again, I'm doing these all uniform. You could absolutely vary with each one of these being a different color. I'm also using pixie cups because I like that I can squeeze them and kind of direct where the paint's at. Pixie cups don't work very well for bigger pours, and I let the paint catch the edge, which doesn't help either, so I gotta clean it up each time. I'm gonna go back to gray. And then let's finish with black. Actually, I'm going to finish with white. Just a little. I made up way too much paint here, but I'll use it in some of the like I said before, I wanted to I kind of wanted to one, I want to remove some of this paint so it doesn't take so long to dry, and two, I kind of like the funny forms that happen when you go I don't want to go too fast. I don't want to stretch this out too much, but do. Kind of like it right there. So there is a puddle with a little bit of tilt to make it a little more abstract. The next method we're going to talk about is the dirty pour. The dirty pour is named because we are actually going to mix all of the colors before we pour them onto the canvas. So first I'm going to take a small cup. This is an 8 by 10. Should take 3 or 4 ounces of paint to cover. So this is about a 4-ounce cup. So and I'm actually going to use all the colors I used for the previous pours and putting them in here. So because these colors should go pretty well together, we're just going to try. I'm just going to pour. Start off with a little black. I'll do a little blue on the opposite side. Myself a little white. I'm gonna take some gray over that white. And some yellow. I'm gonna do some of this light blue, and I'm gonna drop this straight down the center. So with the dirty pour, the way you layer your colors is going to affect how they come back out when you're pouring. So the dirty pour, you have a couple different options. I'm kind of pouring on when I pour on the side, I want that color to kind of lay on top. So you can either pour slowly or you can pour along the side, and that just helps that color to not go down inside the previous layers. Again, pouring slowly or just taking your stick and letting it fall off is another method to keep it from really falling down. I'm getting to the end of most of these, so see, if I pour slowly also, you can see that the paint kind of sits on top. And again, if I pour slowly and go back and forth, I can make a layer of this blue. If I had a lot of paint and I just dropped it, it would sink to the bottom. In this case, I want to make kind of a layer. I'm going to get the rest of this orange. I had all these leftovers, so I'm just using them, and I'm hoping this turns out. I think most of these colors go pretty well together, but you never know. It's one of the beauties of paint pouring is you can experiment, and that's what I recommend that everyone experiments. And if you don't like it, let it dry, pour back over it. Else left in any of these cups, so and then, because this is a dirty pour, another reason why I like these cups again is I can make a little center. Now I'm just going to pour this all over my canvas. Some of these colors I waited a little bit too long. You can see this is kind of thicker than I would normally want. Pour a little on these corners. The corners are always the hardest to get, so I usually like to use my last little bit to grab those. You can see it's a dirty pour. It has kind of a cool color there. Grab my black. Let's give this a little nudge to get out. Now, I don't think I'm going to have enough paint, so I'm going to add a little white to a couple of these areas. White on the outside is just to kind of help the paint move around. Again, this dirty pour, it's just dirty because I put all the paint colors together before I and now you'll see I let those paints dry a little bit too much. You can see it doesn't move as well as the previous ones, but I've got to tilt way more than I normally do to make this work. I'm not really digging that black and yellow, so let's kind of pull that off a little bit. Not really the prettiest of dirty pours, but that gives you an idea of what a dirty pour is. Some things you can do with paintings like this. Use my gray here. Wipe it off. If you decide you don't like how this is turning out, you can kind of pull your colors and break up that white a little bit. Again, it's hard to come back from an ugly pour, but we do what we can. So the next pour we're going to talk about is a tree ring pour. So this pour will start out with a dirty pour cup, and then we will pour the paint on the canvas so that it looks like the rings of a tree when you cut it and look down on the tree trunk. So for this, I need a larger cup because we're going to use a little extra paint. Put the cup here. In this case, I'm going to use green, a off-white or cream, and a gold metallic color. So the first color I want to put in is a little bit of green. I'm going to try and layer these a bit. Do some white. Off-white, I should say. And some metallic. You can layer these however you want. In this case, I'm just going to dump them straight. See how when I dump it, it goes underneath the other paint colors? That's actually what I want, because I want this to mix quite well. I want those colors to come out mixed. So in this case, I'm going to go a little slower so it kind of sits on top there. You're gonna have to experiment with your flip cups, or your dirty pours, excuse me, how you pour the paint in. Sometimes you'll want to pour it on the side so it doesn't mix. Sometimes you'll want to pour it straight in so it mixes really well. Just gonna put the rest of that in here. Now, I am using way more paint than I need, but I kind of want this. I don't want to have to tilt this canvas as much. So it's kind of the purpose behind why I'm using more paint than normal. If I was going to tilt it a lot, then I wouldn't. I just use the recommended amount for an 8x10 canvas. So again, for a tree ring pour, now that I have my dirty cup, is now I'm going to kind of squeeze it a little bit. I like the paper cups that let you squeeze a little more for doing this, but I needed a bigger cup. So, and then we're just going to pour it right straight in the middle. We're just going to kind of go around and around. Notice how it's creating kind of the tree ring type. And you can change the look. If you go faster, you can get different colors. If you go back and forth, you can change the way the colors look. If you notice now my lighter color, which kind of dropped to the bottom, is starting to show. I'm going to kind of turn this way a little bit so I can right here at the end. I'm going to grab, because I don't want paint to drip down on when I'm doing this. Then as always, the corners are always the hardest to get, so I'm just going to give them a little help. Some of my leftover paint. Cool little pattern coming out now. And then we're just going to slowly kind of work this. You know, this really depends on how you want your paint to show. If you notice, wherever the paint was touching the canvas, it was taking a little longer than normal to take the excess paint on the fingers here. Make sure all the corners are done. Make sure I have paint everywhere. Sorry for blocking the camera there. And that is your tree ring pour. The last acrylic pour painting technique we're going to talk about is the flip cup. And the flip cup starts out with a regular dirty pour. So we're going to do that now. And I have my colors orange, deep yellow, and white for this. So we're going to start out with white. We're not going to get into this a lot today, but how you layer your colors for a flip cup is very important, because the heavier colors, in this case I'm using titanium white, is going to, when I flip the cup over, that is going to become the top, and that white is going to kind of gradually seep down because it's heavier than most of the other colors that we're using here. So we want to make sure that we layer this so that we get the colors to mix like we want them to. I'm not taking a whole lot of time this time, since this is just a tutorial on how to do a flip cup, but that is consideration that you want to keep in mind when doing your paintings. And again, this time I'm using way more paint than I need. One, because it's easier to work with, and it spreads out easier, and two, because I don't want to make the mistake of not having enough at the end of this video. So put a little more white in there. So the key to a flip cup is essentially you take your canvas. I'm going to flip it upside down. And I've lost a thumbtack somewhere. If you notice, it was sitting in the paint, which is never good. I'm just going to scrape this off. And then so we're going to try this again. I was missing a thumbtack, so we're going to take this off, put this down, turn the canvas upside down. As you can see, my cup is right there. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to grab the cup. I'm going to flip this over. This is why this is called a flip cup. And see my white's at the top. It's going to kind of travel down through the paint, which is what I want. So I'm going to give it a second here. Also, if you notice, my cup, I bent it a little bit and then it stopped. And the reason why it's not popping back out is because it now has a seal. It has created its own seal underneath here, so you notice it doesn't come off easy. This is one of the cool parts about a flip cup. Now that I've set it here, I kind of have to pull a little harder than normal. And there it goes. Again, if you notice there, I pulled it off to the side quickly. I did that because I didn't want the drips to show right down in here like they normally would. See how I got a couple of drips, which is fine. A couple of drips is fine, but normally I don't like to see my drips in the middle of my dirty pours. So again, you notice the white kind of went away because it actually dropped down below the other colors. Then I'm going to just slowly work my paint over here. I only use two colors, so obviously I'm not going to get a huge difference in color here. But if I would have used more colors, I could have brought out some different colors. Got some different color combinations. And I'm just going to use my fingers to fill in the little spots on the sides that didn't get quite enough paint on them. So that is a flip cup. And if you'll notice, as this one dries, the white is actually going to kind of show through a little bit. And it looks like I got some nice marbling here. Hopefully some of that stuff comes out a little more than normal. Right here you see it's kind of stretched. That's because I moved too fast. If I would have slowed down, it would have kind of broadened those, made them look less stretched out. But that is the last of the basic acrylic paint pouring techniques. I appreciate you guys staying with me here. Recommend you go out to my website, leftbrainedartist.com, for additional content answer some of your questions, and I'll be continually posting, hopefully every week or so for the next forever, hopefully, since I love doing this so much. Again, if you have questions, go to my website, leftbrainartist.com. If you want to see these experimentations that I do as I kind of learn to do paint pouring, go ahead and click the follow button and the bell icon to get notified when you see my next one. Thank you.